Welcome to the Fully Booked Podcast, presented by Instant Edge. If you're a coach, consultant, or aspiring thought leader, this is the show for you. Your host, Jonathan Clark, has years of experience he's sharing with you to help you get found, get hired, and get paid. Let's dive into today's episode.
All right, so it's all about differentiation. It's all about being unique and standing out. Okay, if you look at some examples here, we have Colgate Total toothpaste with zinc phosphate, a patented advanced fluoride formula, whatever the heck that means. But it's different and it's new and it's shiny and in some way it's better for you. I particularly like the adverts that I see on TV for women's skin cream that are often enhanced with super DNA polysaturated modules of something or other. And you're like, okay, well, don't know what that means, right? Cars are always sold with some kind of unique benefit or boost. EcoBoost, the EcoBoost system. You stick a name on it, register it as a trademark, and all of a sudden your car is better. Maybe. I saw somebody advertising 3D YouTube ads. I don't know what a 3D YouTube ad is exactly. What it refers to is that particular person's model or signature program, and that's why it's called 3D YouTube ad. That instantly makes it different. The differentiation is constantly out there in the marketplace. And if you don't differentiate yourself from everybody else, then you're just the same as everybody else. And the chances of you getting a client are 1 in whatever, 1 in a million, 1 in 10,000, however number of other people do what you do. Okay? Now, I don't mean that you should show them you're different by listing out all the different qualifications that you have, or interventions that you know, or topics that you can teach, because that is A, not how people think and not how people buy, and B, you're now telling me you're a jack of all trades, right? So you have to be careful about that. Besides just being a feature of your practice and not a benefit, a long list of qualifications or a long list of things, topics you can speak on, most other people can do the same thing, right? So, and I don't mean telling me how many years you've been in practice either. That's another one. Well, I've been around since 1904. Well, okay, but chances are other people have been around for as long as you are as well. Unless you can genuinely say you are the first or you are the most experienced, then probably it's not really that useful. I'm going to show you better ways to differentiate yourself from every other practitioner or solution that is out there by creating what is called a USP, a unique selling point. Now, USP is a phrase that I'm sure you will hear bandied about all over the place. Originally coined by a chap called Rosser Reeves in the 1940s. He coined it as the elevator pitch. The idea that if you were in an elevator or lift with somebody and they said, oh, hi, what do you do? In the time it took you to get from the ground floor to the first floor, you would say something that would make them go, how'd you do that then? Or, I need to speak to you. Or, I know someone who needs your help. Which is actually the response you want. If you just say, oh, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a therapist, I'm a speaker, they're going to go, oh, great, how's it going? It's not personal to them. It hasn't landed. It hasn't impacted them. There's no Velcro. Why would they care? But if you have a better statement that makes them kind of go, oh, then you've done your job, right? That first sentence out your mouth is really important. You go to a networking event and you get your little 45 seconds or 60 seconds to do your thing. Here's the sad truth. If people aren't booking calls and one-to-ones with you after a networking event, whatever you said was dull. Whatever you said didn't impact anybody. And that was a shame. And that's why people often think networking doesn't work. And largely it's not anything to do with the networking group. A lot of it is down to what do you say? Networking is gradually boiled down networking to two things. Who do I talk to? What do I say? Right? So what comes out of your mouth is really, really important. And I would like to hear a USP. And a USP starts with this question. What makes you different from all the other people in your industry? Okay? It's a core benefit statement is another way I've heard it described. Or an essential selling advantage. Or a competitive marketing advantage. Right? It's a single clear statement that explains the primary advantage or benefit that a client will receive by using your services versus anyone else. Okay? And it should explain your most exciting benefit that is not offered by anybody else. Let me say this again, and let me show you a beautiful visual that sums this up nicely. Here's a little Venn diagram. right? In the blue circle, we have what your business does best. So what you're really good at. Make a list of those things. Jot some of them down. What are you really, really good at? In the pink circle, we have what does your customer want? And this is going back to the target marketing stuff that we talked about in previous weeks. What does your customer actually want? What are they buying? What are they looking for? What problems do they have? The third circle, this is the interesting one, in that kind of beige yellow circle, is what does your competition lack? What do they not offer? Or what can they not guarantee? Or what do they not deliver? If you can combine those three things into that little Venn diagram, what you do best with what your customer deserves and what your competition can't provide, you have found a unique selling point. Okay? That's a great way to think about it. So to help you understand exactly what I mean here, let me take a few minutes to give you some examples of real world USPs that have had a tremendous impact on the success of the companies that use them. I like this scenario. I used to say to people all the time, if you were standing in this group of consultants or coaches or whatever it is you do, and we added you to that list of 7 people there, why should I hire you and not one of the other 6? Then the majority of people I speak to cannot answer that question. And if you cannot answer that question, then chances are I'm going to hire one of the other 6. Right? There has to be some good reason why I should do business with you and not one of them. Otherwise, you're going to have to take chances. That's what happened. So let me give you some real life examples of companies who have done this. Domino's Pizza, the most famous USP of all time. Fresh, hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, or it is free. When they first put that out there, it went crazy. It went ballistic. Domino's found a gap in the market. Consumers were totally dissatisfied with the poor delivery times of pizza. It was either late or it was cold or it was both, right? And they came out with a clear and concise statement. They went to, where is the blue ocean? Where is the gap here? What is the competition lacking? They went there and they said, right, we guarantee you it's going to be on time. It's going to also be within 30 minutes, by the way. Look at that specific metric. It's going to be within 30 minutes and it's going to be hot, or you don't pay for it. That's a no risk guarantee. That's what's often called a risk reversal. You've taken the barrier away. Why wouldn't you do business with Domino's if you're looking for a hot pizza that day or that night? Okay? They came up with a clear and concise statement that told consumers what they do that nobody else was willing to do. They didn't, now notice this, for example. They didn't promise pizza with some kind of special recipe or secret sauce, right? They didn't even promise the best pizza. Nobody said it's going to be the best pizza. They didn't even promise it was going to be good pizza. What they did promise was fresh, hot pizza in 30 minutes or less, or you don't have to pay for it. Very, very interesting. They found a gap and they came up with a statement. They promised to deliver what was missing, and they made sure that everybody, and this is our key point, they made sure everyone saw that and knew what the USP was. They put it everywhere. It was on TV, on radio, on billboards, on leaflets, in the shop windows, everywhere. Your USP should be everywhere because it's one of the things that makes you unique. Now, if you've been following along the past couple of weeks or you're part of the Get Found, Get Hired program, you know that I talk about an origin story. You should have an origin story that is uniquely yours. You should also have your own signature solution, your own signature framework or methodology. That's also yours. Your USP is a third powerful way to make yourself different. Okay. Consequently, because of the USP, Domino's became one of the biggest pizza chains in existence today. That's one of the success ingredients. Okay. Here's another one. Nordstrom's department stores. Nordstrom's USP. Does anybody know what Nordstrom's USP is? Any familiar with this company? If you have any problems with a purchase for any reason, bring it back, no questions asked, 100% money back guarantee anytime in the future. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it was 5 years ago and there's a flaw. Bring it back, they'll give you your money back. Interesting. Would you be brave enough to say that? In my first book, I used that. In my first book in 2006, I said, if at any point you're not happy with this book, you can return it anytime. Lifetime guaranteed. You can send it back and I'll give you your money back. I've only had one copy of that book returned in whatever that is, 18 years. And that's because the guy wanted the free CD that went with the book. He sent me the book back in the cellophane unopened. This is another great USP. Why? Because it fills a gap that the consumers are crying out for. The opportunity to purchase, to return their purchase for any reason without having to have an argument or a confrontation, right? Or having to prove your point or stroppy member of staff. It's a case of, no, according to your guarantee, I can bring this back and get a refund. Yes, you can, madam. Done. That's powerful. That takes away the risk. That takes away any hurdles for the client to go to Nordstrom as opposed to somewhere else, right? Nordstrom discovered that people wanted that level of service and that level of assuredness, and they put it into a tightly defined one-sentence statement, and they made sure that everybody knew that statement, and they included it in all of their marketing. And then, probably more importantly, they followed through by allowing anyone to return their purchase at any time, as it says on the tin. Now, that's a good USP. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to offer free stuff or, endless guarantees. There's other ways to do it. But I want you to get the gist of the point, get the idea behind the technique, the tactic, the strategy. A well-crafted USP can and does make all the difference in the world when it comes to how well people respond to your marketing. And when it comes to them making a buying decision, why should they go with you and not somebody else? Now, the funny thing is, what makes USPs so powerful is the other 6 people in that photograph probably won't have one. So not only do you have an advantage by having one, you're another advantage because they won't. So doubly powerful, doubly powerful. All right. A well-crafted USP is what makes prospects choose you as opposed to someone else in your industry. And it makes clients stay and spend more money with you and refer people to you because they know that you are a man or woman of your word and you do deliver what you said you deliver. That's the whole point. So the real core of your USP then is to get your potential clients to see that you are offering a superior advantage or benefit that no other competitor offers. All right. Remember the Venn diagram? What is it that your competition lacks or doesn't offer? You're highlighting that. You're highlighting that and exploiting that and using that. And this is important. The more measurable, comparable, demonstrable, and quantifiable it is, the better. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let me give you an example. Which of these 2 statements is better? Your back pain will disappear, or your back pain will disappear in 60 minutes or less. No brainer, right? Immediately, you're going to go for number 2. Correct. Okay. Here's another one. Feel better. I can help you feel better. Or, ideally feel better in 50 minutes without any work or drugs. Guaranteed. Who do you think is going to do better? Therapist 1 or therapist 2? No brainer, right? Who would you buy from? No brainer. If you actually think back to some of the things you've ever purchased in your life, very often, one of the deciding factors that tipped you over the edge and helped you make a buying decision was the USP. All right. So it's quantifiable. It's more measurable. There's a metric on it. There's a time scale on it in that case. And the more specific your USP is, the better it will attract prospects and the more of them will say yes. And I'm sure you're here to attract more prospects and have more of them say yes. Right? So let's go into a little bit more detail about how we create that. Think about what people want from your service. What is it they want? Try and think about what beneficial outcome does a client get from working with you? What's the big takeaway? What's the big takeaway? Ultimately, what do they get? What are they left with? And one of my favorite authors talks about the afters. What are the afters? After they've worked with you, what are they left with? Right? Ultimately, what do you get from working with you? Right? So if it was a back pain or chiropractor or something like that, it would probably be, I'm flexible. I don't creak anymore. I'm not stiff anymore. I'm flexible. I can move about and I've got full range of motion, which makes me feel healthy and free. Right. That's the end result. What's the end result people get from working with you? Second question you want to think about. What is the one biggest problem that your prospect faces right now? That's always a good thing to think about. What is the one pressing headache that you can guarantee your prospect has right now? They probably have several. You can probably think of several, right? And leaders in the diabetes world, you can probably think of several things that are symptomatic of that, okay? But what's the one if they could fix it right now, what result would they give everything to achieve right now? What's the most pressing one? Anita, if you don't mind opening your mic, what is that in diabetes as a general rule? I know it's about balance and blood sugar. I know it's about energy and it's about health, but what's the one that is the kind of most pressing one?
The ultimate fear is, you can have sugar issues, that is diabetes, right? But is the side effects, what can happen after a period of time when these blood sugars are not in a good state, right? So eyesight, liver, there's a unfortunately long list of things that can happen. So they are diabetic side effects. Now, people can argue, well, you can get those things without having diabetes. Very true. But having diabetes escalates this. You are more likely. And who wants that?
Okay. So if you walked up to 100 diabetics, what would be the one most common denominator headache that they all have that you could bank on? If I said, I can help you with this, they would go, can you? Great. When do we start? That's the one you want to try and pin down. Okay. I like to think of the client's problems in order. They're going to have this, needs. So if you're in a survival situation, I'm into bushcraft and wilderness survival and stuff like that. Who knew? And I'm writing a book and a program, and I'm running this model actually on my own stuff, which is quite cool. And I've invented this acronym called SHOWER. And SHOWER is the survival mnemonic for remembering what you need to do in what order. So S stands for shelter. The first thing you need if you're in a wilderness or survival or drama crisis situation is shelter. Second thing you need is heat. The H in SHOWER is heat. The third thing you need are the owies or the ouchies, is injuries. If there's any first aid required, anybody's got bleeding or infection or illness or disease or whatever, that needs to be treated next. Right? SHOW. W stands for water. You need water. You need water before you need food. Many a person has died trying to eat when they were dehydrated. So you need water first. Then E in SHOWER is eat, which is food. You then need food for energy. And then the R in SHOWER is rescue. So only once you've taken care of those other things do you then think about signaling or fires or high-vis jackets or flares or all that kind of stuff. Shelter, heat, ouchies, water, eat, rescue. That's a really useful model to hold in your head if you're ever in a dramatic crisis survival situation, right? So that's a unique proprietary thing that I'm going to put in my book. It's going to be, I've never seen that written down like that before. I've seen kind of things kind of around that, but not like that. And I wish it was a better word than shower. Shower doesn't really make much sense in a survival context, but it does all the bits that you need to do. So shelter's the first problem. So a good lead magnet, if I was going to put out something that I want survivalists or preppers or bushcraft enthusiasts or campers or hikers to get their attention, I might put something on 10 ways to build a quick waterproof warm shelter in an hour or less. That's quite a good idea for lead magnet. I better read it. That's quite a good idea for a lead magnet, right? Because it solves the first problem. That's the first problem. The next problem then is heat. Okay, I'm out of the rain, I'm out of the elements, I'm out of the wind, but I'm cold or I'm wet or both, which is a certain route for hypothermia. So I now need heat. We're into fires. We're into tinder. We're into, fire starting, matches, whatever. That's the next problem. There's no problem though there's no point in lighting a fire if you haven't got shelter first, because your fire's going to go out. If you're in the rain or the wind or the snow, your fire's going to go out. You need shelter first. And there's no point in sitting in an empty field covered with snow in the middle of a blizzard with a fire, because it ain't going to do you any favors. So shelter first, then heat, right? So if I solve the shelter problem, I now need to think about the heat problem. Every time you solve a problem, you effectively create another problem. So think about the order that your client's problems would go in. What is the most pressing one? That is what your USP needs to appeal to, because chances are that person is new to you or you're new to them. And if you can say something in your USP very early on, they're going to go, I want that because I have that problem. Does that make sense? That's a long roundabout explanation, but I hope you get the kind of gist. Daniel's got a question.
Yeah. Based on what you were just saying, how examples that you're giving, from a healthcare perspective, as an anesthetic practitioner, I would say one of the most pressing problems that I get with my patients is needle phobia. They can't have the operation unless they go through that step. So it's kind of like, would that be considered the shelter in that?
In that order? Well, is that something you come up against a lot?
Yeah, I work in operating theatre. So the operations, so they're That's usually, unless they're having a local anesthetic, but even then, they still have to have the local anesthetic as an injection.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think that would be a great initial hook. I mean, I suppose in the medical world, there may be alternatives to injections.
Yeah. If like they really are like needing foam and you can't get, because patients are dehydrated before surgery anyway. So then their veins aren't the best anyway to find. Some people have better veins than others. But if you've attempted and you can't get it through and they're just really not up to it, we gas them.
Yeah. So your first offering would be either without needles or that don't always require a needle, right? You could throw those words into your USP if there is an option around it, if there's a way around it. Or maybe it's a case of if you can't avoid the problem, you have to kind of disempower it. So stress how, little. It's just, my dentist always says you're going to feel a tiny little scratch. It's how he always puts it. Yeah. That was more than a scratch, but okay. Or they might put like a little cotton ball that's coated in something first into the mouth, which numbs it. Then you don't feel the injection, Yeah. So it might just simply be an explanation of that to try and take the fear down. It's like, here's how it works. In case you're worried about it, here's how it actually works. And worst case scenario, we have a workaround. That would be a good way to express that. If there's an objection that people are going to come up with to getting treated, then I would throw that into the USP. Even if it's like, I saw one recently, it was painkillers. It was paracetamol for people who hate paracetamol, right? It's like paracetamol for people who hate paracetamol. So, okay. So it's an alternative painkiller, right? I think when 7-Up was first launched, it was called the Uncola drink. The Uncola drink, right? Because 7-Up's basically cola. It's a different color, but that's how they framed it. So sometimes framing it as the opposite is a way to do it. But I think you've hit, I was going to say you've hit the nail on the head. That's the wrong thing to say. I think you've got the needle thing. In fact, if the needle thing's a big deal, call it out, mention it, reduce its power if you can, or show there's an alternative to it. Or even if you hate needles, actually say that, because by saying it, you've opened up the conversation. And that might be all that needs to happen. They might have, the lips might be sealed because they're embarrassed, they don't want to mention it. Whereas if you actually mention it for them, you've kind of made it easier for them to have that conversation. Does that make sense? Those are the things I would do. I love that. I love that. I love when people do what Tanya's just done. They bring me a scenario that I have no experience in. And I think, well, how would that work in that industry? How could you do that? But the principles are always the same. It's what are you saying to whom? Love it. Okay. So yeah, think about the problems that the client has. What's the one biggest problem that the client has right now? Can you build it into the USP? What result would they give anything to achieve? Like, what is their deepest heart's desire in this context? What do they really ultimately want? What's their long-term aspiration? If in Anita's world, it's about, and we've dug into this in detail, it's about, having a relatively normal lifestyle, not really restricted by all the imposed limitations that diabetes might bring upon you. All that stuff. That's the ultimate long-term result. So can we help people live like that? If you're the one person that can help people live like that, awesome. People are going to pay attention, right? And again, question 4, I'm just going to reiterate this. Why should a prospect choose you over any other provider? You need to have a good reason. You need to have a good answer to that question. And is this easy, by the way? No. It's simple, but it's not easy. It does require some mental effort. You do need to sit down and think about this stuff. But it's worth spending an hour on this and putting something together and then starting to throw it out and test it into the marketplace to see what kind of result it gets. And what you'll find ultimately is certain words you say that land and that impact the client, and it swings it for you. If you listen to your phone conversations, if you listen to your face-to-face conversations, you probably talk differently to clients than when you do and you sit in front of a keyboard. Because the minute we sit in front of a keyboard, we get all kind of Shakespeare and verily doth I say thee nay, and it all goes weird and academic, right? And that's what I call street language, which is how you talk to people in front of you or on the phone. So try and talk to people the way you would talk to them if they're in front of you or on the phone. Try and avoid getting all kind of academic, because that doesn't work. So if you spend some time on these 4 questions and start to pull out ideas and you start to throw them together, you then start sharing those with potential clients. Ultimately, you'll end up with a single statement that promises to deliver all of those factors. And that's a powerful, powerful USP. It's the elevator calling card. It's what you would say to someone in the elevator if they ask you what you do for a living. And after you deliver your USP, the response should be, wow, how do you do that? Right? After somebody reads any of your marketing pieces that has your USP in it, they should be thinking to themselves, I wonder how they do that. Or I wonder if they could do that for me. Right? A common mistake I see a lot of practitioners, because my background is NLP and hypnotherapy and the world of therapy and complementary alternative stuff, working in clinics with other therapists. One of the things I would see all the time is people would say, what do you do for a living? They go, I'm a massage therapist. And you go, okay, great. You busy? It stays small talk. They're not interested, really. They're just making conversation with you. Whereas if you say, I can show someone how to make their back pain disappear in 60 minutes or 60 seconds would be great, 60 minutes or less without drugs or surgery, the person who staggered into your therapy clinic is going to go, we need to talk. If you can make this disappear in the next hour, right? That's what it's all about. But if you say, I'm a massage therapist, they're going to go, whoop-de-doo. I don't really care. I'm just being polite. Okay? If you say, I can help people relax, alleviate any pain or discomfort that they might have and give them more energy and vitality in the next 3 weeks, they're going to go, really? How do you do that then? Right? Or I help people eliminate their back pain without any drugs or without any effort on their part. Really? Because people buy convenience, people buy ease, right? What's another one? I help people reduce stress, relax more, and have the most enjoyable hour of their day. That makes you go, that makes you curious. You're going, what does that hour consist of? What's happening in that hour? So you could probably imagine somebody going, how do you do that? Or how does that work? Or I want to know more, which is the wanted response that you want. And it's a sign you've got a good USP. Okay. Bear in mind, you must always be able to fulfill the promise that you just made. But there's nothing worse than telling people that you're going to give them something or do something for them and then not coming through with it. So it's like, yeah, I tell you, I get this result and you don't. It's like, I wanted a 2-story extension on my house and I got 10. That wasn't what I paid for. Now you've got an argument with the builder. Okay. So let me give you some other examples. Some examples that you can maybe relate to. For example, here's another one. FedEx, when absolutely positively, has to be there overnight. That established FedEx as the go-to company for urgent and reliable shipping. You might go with another courier, but if it's got to be there tomorrow, generally FedEx gets the phone call. And that bold claim, which they can do, because they have a huge fleet of planes, trained automobiles, is what got them to become so successful. Okay. Another good example would be M&M's. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. The problem with chocolate, much though we love it, is it melts as soon as you touch it. Right? You get messy with it. M&M's solved that problem. And they not only solved that problem, they told everybody about it. Now, are M&M's the only chocolate-covered thing that you can buy that doesn't melt? No. There's plenty of other candies and confectionery that has a kind of hard shell on the outside. But they're the only people who said it. And that's very often the advantage. Who says it first? Okay. Here's another one. Avis car rental, who are consistently number 2 in the charts, usually below Hertz car rental. And they said, we're number 2. That's why we try harder. They didn't hide it. They didn't avoid it. They didn't try and blag their way around it. They went, yeah, it's true. That's why we work harder to please you. Very, very clever. Very, very, very clever. And anytime I've ever hired a car, it's always them I go to, interestingly, because of the experience I've had with them. Okay. There's lots of ways to do this. A good USP is the headline for all your advertising. Think of it like that. A good USP should be on your business card. It should be on your website, should be on your leaflets, should be said at networking events, should be on your email signatures underneath your emails. Instead of having the same old business card that's just got name, phone number, your logo, right, the contact information, it'd be better to have your USP on it. And maybe a QR code or a website address. That would be powerful. Okay. Imagine a business card that says, I help people eliminate their back pain forever without using any drugs and without any effort on their part. Click the link to get my free cheat sheet. I help patients eliminate their fear of needles forever without using hypnosis or without any effort on their part. Click the link to find out how. That's going to get some clicks because you've got them curious. Okay. All your ads every time you speak to someone at a networking event, everywhere you go, your USP should be front and center. You should be using it everywhere. Okay? Provided you can actually do what you said you can do. That's really important. There's lots of ways you can differentiate yourself. Cars are often differentiated by being what are Volvos known for? Safety, right? Volvos are like tanks, and my family's had several, so I know this for a fact. They are like tanks. So Volvo's known for being cheap. Safe, safe and built solidly, and they will protect you, right? Other cars are marketed as being the most economical. Other cars are supercars, and prestige cars are marketed for being the fastest, right? They went round the Nürburgring in Germany in the least amount of seconds. Well, great. Unfortunately, you can't drive at 200 miles an hour in the UK. Not normally, but the police will have something to say about that. But they can market it like that, okay? Computers might be marketed as the fastest, so they process things quicker, or it might be the toughest. I've seen almost military-grade laptops that have an armoured shell and cushioning, so you can bounce them off boulders and they don't break. And it's like, you might want that. I don't know why, but you might want that. Maybe if you go hiking and you want your laptop with you. Generally, the three major markets that you will see that are evergreen or have been around forever and probably always will be are health, wealth, and relationships. The three big ones are health, wealth, and relationships. I posted quite a long post in the Fully Booked group today about this, but the three major, or the four major markets are there. But for instance, in the health world, you might get a weight coach. You might get an energy coach. You might get a strength coach. Now, these are specialisms. These are micro niches. If you say you're a health coach, well, there's thousands of those. If you say, I am specifically a golf swing coach, then you've narrowed down your niche and you've got a very, very tight target market. I can show you how to take 3 strokes off your golf game in 60 minutes or less, for example. That would be a USP and a niche. In the wealth world, you've got people who will promise you to increase your net worth or to bring your retirement age sooner, right? Or to boost your confidence with trading. These are all specific niches, and you want to be specific. Remember, we talked, one of the factors is to be specific. Don't just say you're a wealth coach. If you're in the relationships world, you can say, yeah, I'm a relationships coach, or I'm a counselor in the world of relationships. Okay, but if you niched it down into more specifics, if it was an intimacy coach, for example, that's a whole different specialism. If it was children in family setups, that's a different specialism. Okay, the more unique you can make it, the better. So why should I do business with you versus any other option in your category? That's something you want to be thinking about. Okay? Have a strong, compelling USP. Don't use price. I would suggest you don't put price. I'm cheaper than everybody else. That's a bad thing to say. Don't say that. And that's not going to work. Someone will always come along and undercut you. So price is not a good idea. And if you are the same price as other people or even more expensive than other people, your USP may be the thing that causes them to buy from you and not one of your competitors, even if you're more expensive. All right. Tanya's asked a question about replays. All the replays are in the Facebook group, Tanya. So if you go into the Fully Booked Thought Leaders Facebook group, you'll find all of the live streams are recorded and they're all right there in the group. What I typically will do is I'll typically send out an email or I'll post a couple of days later just to say, hey, if you didn't get it, if you need the link, private message me and I'll send you over the link. But they are actually all in there in order. So you can go back and grab them anytime. This one, unfortunately, is having to be recorded on Zoom and I'll upload it later because Facebook wasn't playing ball today. Okay. So any questions about USPs? Does it take a little bit of work? Yes. Are you going to have to spend some time on it? Yes. But it's well worth the effort. It is well worth the effort. So comments, questions, feedback on that one.
Is this the same kind of thing where you show the person why they need it, what they need it for, but not the how?
Not quite, no. The whole differentiation between the why and the what and the how is more around when you're delivering content. So if you were writing a book chapter or giving a presentation or teaching a workshop or running a webinar, this comes from learning strategies from years ago. In the 70s, there was a major learning study done on how people learn. And it basically, I do have a slide in this somewhere, it basically came down to there are 4 major learning styles. And I love this because as a trainer and speaker, I'll often ask people, any questions? And hands will go up and I guarantee the first word out of that person's mouth will be one of these 4 words. Every single time. It's why, what, how, and what if. Those are the big 4. Why, what, how, and what if. There are why people who always want to know why. There are what people who want the facts, the figures, and the details. There are the how people who want to learn the strategy and how things are done. And then there are the what if people who visualize and speculate and dream and fantasize about all the applications, right? So if you cover if you answer all four questions, basically, in any kind of piece of content, whether it's a blog post or a speech or whatever, you've basically taught all the learning styles, and you really shouldn't get any questions because you've effectively covered all the bases and you've answered all the questions. And that's been a really comprehensive teaching topic you've just delivered, right? Why people will always ask why. They want reasons, they want justification, they want relevance as to why am I even listening to you? And that's why you should always start with why. Why should you start with why? Because people in the room are asking themselves, why should I listen to you? Why should I give you any of my time in the first place? Why should I come to Jonathan's live stream talking about USPs? So why is the first area you should always cover? What is the facts, the figures, the statistics, the numbers, the quotes? It's the meat and bones of the stuff. It's the information, the data. Okay. The bulk of your content is the what segment. The how segment is how it works, the strategy, the recipe, the process, the steps. And the what if is the imagine the possibilities. What if it's raining? What if it's snowing? What if I can't find any wood to build my shelter? What if I can't find any wood to build my fire? What ifs, right? Now, generally, why people want to know why, what people want to know what, how people like to know how, and what if like to know what if. So if you cover all that, you've taught a well-taught segment. Now, if you are selling your content, if you are getting paid to be a speaker, if you are writing books, if you're teaching, if you've got an online course, if you're running live streams, if you're giving it away for free, the general rule is you teach why and what, but you do not give the how away for free. You have spent years, sweat equity and time, energy and money to learn how to do stuff in your life. People should be paying for the benefit of your knowledge. So generally we don't give the how away. Now, to be honest, I do give quite a lot of how away. In fact, I just did today, if you think about it. But you want the really, 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 really meaty stuff that'll make you an international bestseller in 3 months. That's what the Get Found, Get Hard, Get Paid program is. That's a paid program. And here, I'm going to give you some of it, but not all of it. Simple as that. Because I spent 27 years learning how to do this. I've written 18 books of my own. We've created 40 Amazon best-selling authors as of today. So you want that information? I'm going to ask you to pay for that because I had to. So general rule, if it's free, you teach the why and the what. If it's pay, you teach all of it. Why, what, how, what if. And you teach it in that order, by the way. I always teach it in that order. If you don't start with the why, people are going to stop and go, why am we talking about this? So why motivates them? What informs them? How gives them the ability to do it themselves? And what if covers all the possible eventualities. So if you listen to any of my live streams or read any of my book chapters or read any of my articles, I always use that format. I've actually got a more advanced version of that, which I call the content cloyer, which is this beastie. It's 15 different areas, but it covers all of those areas and a heck of a lot more, including various psychological triggers and motivators and things like that. But that also we've now got AI programmed with that, and we can write a book about anything in minutes. We can write a book about any topic, aimed at any target market in minutes using AI and that structure, which is exciting. Very exciting. So your homework is to go and spend some time thinking about your USP. What end result do I get from you? Why should I choose you and not somebody else? What do you offer that no one else does? Can you put a metric on it, like a time scale? If you can put it into a measurable, quantifiable amount, like drop a dress size in a week, lose 2 pounds a week, 7-day abs, 100 calorie snacks. The more specific you can make it, the more people will buy it. If you make it vague, people don't buy it. If you make it specific, people buy it.
And what if you wanted to do an offer for, say, Wimbledon's coming up, a package for Wimbledon, say, with a hotel stay and Wimbledon tickets? How would I make that? Because Wimbledon's coming up and everyone who does tennis knows about it. So how would I then make it a USP for holiday?
Okay, so why should I buy that package? Well, first of all, does anybody offer that package? Can I buy that kind of package? Apart from you, Tanya, can I buy that kind of package anywhere else? I would think the answer is probably yes. So you need to either find what they don't offer, include something that they don't include, or find a reason why they should book it with you and not somebody else. I like that idea. So Wimbledon, presume that's over a weekend. I'm not a big tennis fan. Is it?
It's 14. It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Okay. So you tell I'm not a tennis fan. So the ultimate Wimbledon package, hotel, your accommodation paid for, your meals paid for, your tickets paid for. What kind of seats do they get?
The seats are quite good. Near the Queen's box, not in the Queen's box, but are near and that area.
Right. So again, you could offer different packages, different price points, different benefits to it. Or you could build your own, build a beer factory, build a Wimbledon factory. You can build your own components. You choose the room, you choose the number of days, you choose the hotel, that kind of thing. Or you could just have gold, silver, bronze. That'd be easier. Most people get confused the minute you go over 4. So you could do the gold package, the bronze package, the platinum package, whatever. That's a good offer. But I would do some market research into what do people want out of that and what is not being offered in that industry. So I would have a look at the market research stuff that we talked about in a previous module. Do a search in the Facebook group for market research and you'll see a couple of live streams about that. But you can actually go online and you can find out what are people Googling, what are people offering. You're looking for that blue ocean. You're looking for that. The red ocean's where all the feeding frenzy is and the sharks are eating the fish. The blue ocean is where it's wide open and there's nothing there and there's no competition. So where's the gap? It's something like your dream Wimbledon package in one phone call or in one click. Make it easy because it sounds complicated and I've got a lot to think about. If you make it really easy, a great book you ought to read sometime is $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi is a bit of a genius and he broke the internet recently. He did something really, really interesting no one had ever done before. But Alex Hormozi shared in his book, $100 Million Offers, a thing called The Value Equation. And I go on about this all the time because it's just gold. It's absolute gold. Let me share it with you before we round off. The value equation looks like this, and it is the 4 things that actually quantify value. He's the first person who's ever actually broken down what value means. Value basically means you can increase 2 things for the client and you can decrease 2 things for the client. You can first of all increase, or step 1 is you can make sure the client gets what they want. You can help them get their dream goal. The very fact that you say, I can get you hotels, food and tickets at Wimbledon in one click or one phone call, that's immediately viable if you're a tennis fan or you're looking for a nice holiday to London for some reason. Secondly, if you can increase the likelihood of it, if you can make it much more likely to happen, you're valuable. Okay. The likelihood of achievement. If you can increase that, you're valuable. The 2 things you decrease the time. You make it quicker, less wait, less delay, less time spent on the phone, less time spent surfing the web. If you can do it really fast, that's why I said in one click or in one phone call. And effort sacrifice, if you can reduce the amount of effort or work. Remember the back pain with no work on your part. Remove back pain with no work on your part. Or reduce back pain with no drugs. That's the effort sacrifice one. You can decrease the amount of effort. People are lazy. People like convenience. Then you're more valuable to them. So I would think about your Wimbledon thing in those terms. Can I make it more likely to happen? Can I make it quicker? And can I make it less work for them? If you do any or all those things, you've got a killer offer, right? And it can be, I help Wimbledon fans to have the best Wimbledon experience of their lives in one phone call without spending hours surfing or something like that. That's quite a good offer. I'm just making that up. That's already good. That's how to do it. The rules apply to any industry, right? Doesn't matter whether it's dentistry, plumbing, or tennis, or survival. You're talking to human beings and you're appealing to their needs and you're giving them a result that they want and you're offering it to them. And that's what all marketing is. I've got this. Do you want it or not? But more specifically, I know you're this kind of person with this kind of problem. I can solve it in this amount of time with less effort. Do you want it or not? And that's a much better offer. And the more people you say that to, the more of the right people you say that to, the more clients you're going to get. It's not rocket therapy, as one of my clients once said. It's not rocket therapy. It's not rocket science. Anyway, stand out from the crowd by having a compelling, unique USP that gets people go, really? I get to book Wimbledon in one click in a 5-minute phone call? I like that. You focus on one niche or one need or one problem that's sorely lacking for people and they can't find anyone else to fill that gap for them. Don't market your product on price. That's a bad idea. Market on the value that you offer. You can have a different, you can have a different USP for different niche markets that you're going after. So if you were a personal trainer, you might train golfers, you might train tennis people, you might train yoga people. You'd have a different offer for each of those because of 3 different markets with different problems. And cardinal rule, include your USP in every piece of marketing material that you put out. Do those things and you will have more clients. All right. We'll see you guys same time next week. Hopefully I'll get Facebook sorted out by that point. This will be uploaded into Facebook shortly, so you can always watch it back, answer those questions and work on it. Need any help from me, give me a shout and we can have a chat. Otherwise, have a nice week and I shall see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Fully Booked. Got a question for Jonathan or know of someone who'd be a great guest for the show? Email jcalchemy@gmail.com. And remember to leave us a comment, like, and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode of Fully Booked. We'll catch you next time.